Welcome to episode 34 of the Most Serious Podcast. In today's episode, I talk to Mrs. Surabhi Talwar, who's a co-founder and CEO of Happy Jars. She completely embodies her company's name. She's a very happy, a very confident, a fun-loving person. Surabhi worked in corporate for 15 years before starting Happy Jars. During her professional experience in marketing, she worked with big brands and big companies. And then she and her husband started their own venture. In this episode, me and Surabhi talked about a lot of things. Her personal philosophies of life, what's the vision with Happy Jars? Why did they name it Happy Jars? How has being an entrepreneurial mom been like? How has she managed motherhood and taking care of a company at the same time? Surabhi also talks about the differences of being an employee and being an entrepreneur, the differences she felt in her corporate career and now being a full-time entrepreneur. A very fun, insightful and relaxed conversation with Surabhi Talwar. I hope you like the conversation today. Let's get into the episode now. Surabhi Talwar is on the Most Serious Podcast. Welcome, Surabhi. You look great. How are you doing?
Thank you. Very well. Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm also good. It's great to see that you're excited and this energetic in the middle of the day on a Tuesday. I mean, I didn't expect that at all.
It's a part of my being. I don't think I can get rid of it. It's a good thing sometimes.
Oh, it's a great thing. It's always good to smile, and I guess people around you tend to be more happy because of this positive and this good energy that you always carry. Is that the case?
Thank you. I don't know. Well, hopefully, I'm not sure, but yeah, maybe it has some role to play.
Is this only the reason that you've named your company Happy Jars? Because I can't figure out why would you call a jar happy, and what's the main motivation behind calling it Happy Jars?
So I think, there's a deeper story around our philosophy of food. And for us, I feel like it kind of came very naturally. So yes, I am kind of very bubbly and cheerful, and I tend to be sometimes annoyingly enthusiastic for some people. So for a lot of people, I'm not the person you should meet first thing in the morning if you're a grumpy wake up person. But I think for us, Happy Jars kind of happened a lot by chance. And it was a name that we picked up within literally the first 5 seconds of conversation. We were discussing doing a food brand, and then we suggested, what about a peanut butter brand? And then I was like, jars. Yeah, it comes in jars. And then it was Happy Jars. I think the name really resonates with us because for us, food is about happiness. Me and my husband, who's also my co-founder, we're both major foodies. So food is like the thing that drives us. When you have a bad day, you want really good food at the end of it. It's like that's how we think about food. So yeah, I think a lot of it is to do with happy food.
Wow, that's crazy because people, I see people are all around me doing this thing that they get so fixated on just deciding the name and the logo and whatever their brand tagline would be before starting their business or whatever the idea they have. So 80%, 70% of their time is just hiring a graphic designer, setting up thousands of names and then choosing one after every iteration. I think it's good to go with sometimes what we're just naturally feeling.
Yeah, and sometimes you get lucky, right? You come up with a good name and then you just
it grows on you.
And it still sounds good the next day. It does grow on you. That's true. I can't imagine being called anything else now.
Does this happiness, this bubbly side, was this transcended equally into your corporate experience? Because I've seen these movies and I haven't done a job. I would be starting one probably in a month's time. So what they all say that, corporate is just people are not actively or, they don't show their anger or the negativity on your face, but it's just passive aggression and emails that are, sent across your way on a Monday morning. So how was Surabhi Talwar's experience in corporate?
Yeah, I actually honestly used to love my jobs. I'm probably one of the few entrepreneurs who you will meet who will say I didn't leave because I hated working for someone else. I used to love working for other people. I was really good at what I did. I used to do well. I used to enjoy going to office, and I had a lot of very good friends around me as well. So I think I was definitely very cheerful and bubbly. Corporate life was actually fantastic, right? Because you had a lot of comforts being in a large office, and I worked with large communications agencies. I used to work with a much larger startup when I was in Bangalore as well, called Wildcraft. So I've come from large offices which have, your tea, coffees being served to you, and you have like a nice desk to sit on. You have your own softboard. So all that stuff was really fun. You obviously had a lot of good colleagues as well. Yes, there is pressure. And I think some workplaces handle it better than others. But I had the good fortune of working in places where we all worked together towards one goal. Of course, there are disagreements and stuff, but there wasn't really too much passive aggressiveness. But I used to try and make it as much fun as possible for me and my team, at least, because if you don't go home happy, you end up leaving, and there's no point working in a place like that.
What excites you more, or I think what excites you more would be a natural answer to you would be entrepreneurship, I guess. But what seems easier? I think that's a good question. Being an employee and being told what you have to do with a certain amount of boundary and restriction that you have with the work that you are, or your creativity, whatever you're allowed to project on your whatever work you're doing. Or is it being an entrepreneur? What's the easier one according to you?
Oh, definitely a job. So much easier. Like on the really, really hard days, I just wish I could appoint myself a boss for the day and be like, you tell me what to do. You decide this. I don't want to decide this right now. It is much easier being in a job. I think entrepreneurship actually for me was a decision. Like when we took that decision, I had already been working for about 15 years, 14 years. So it's not something I got into on the off chance. But I was very excited, and I think I was more excited because me and my husband had decided. I said, look, if I'm going to join, I want to be CEO. It's just like, it's not going to happen without that title. And he was like, kar le, and then we'll see after a few months. So no, I think it came with a lot of preparation, but nothing prepares you for how difficult it really is. It's so much easier to be in a job and have someone else be able to take the big difficult decision, and you always have something else that kind of affected your choice in a job, right? It is another department, it could have been another decision someone else took, and therefore you took your decisions. But in an entrepreneurship, when you're the leader, all the decisions are related to you. Other people can make mistakes, but it's all your fault. So I think a large part of that responsibility plays out quite hard in entrepreneurship.
And it also has to do with this, like the people I've talked to through this podcast and off this podcast as well. They say that whenever you're doing something of your own, then you can't just, at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. pack your laptop and go home and, it's their problem. Now, whatever mess up you did or whatever, if the name gets affected. So it's not your necessary problem. It might say, okay, your team messed up or you guys did something bad, but ultimately it's not your personal problem. It's not a headache that you'll have at night sleeping. My reputation has been harmed for life. The brand or the company that you're working for, they are the ultimate, people who will be affected. And that's what I think transcends also to entrepreneurship. Like you are now responsible for everything that Happy Jars is, and, for the good and for the bad.
Yes. And that's hard because I think you're absolutely right. You don't switch off and forget 5 p.m. I think even when we go, if we can ever afford a short vacation, it takes me almost the entire vacation to switch off. And then by the time I've switched off, I'm like, oh my God, now I'm bored. Now I don't know what to do. So you're torn constantly between wanting to take a break and not being able to. But you really don't stop thinking about work. And sometimes that's something you need to manage, actually.
So let me tell you, I don't know why I didn't think of asking you this, but this just came to me in my head that when I was in grade 5, 6, whatever, I remember this, that I saw people in classes 11th and 12th, they were carrying these huge, heavy, big books of physics, accounts, whatever. And I used to think that, man, how on earth am I ever going to be able to carry such a heavy book apart from reading it or, learning from such books? And, for the whole year, I have these 5, 6 huge books. And will I be able to read all of this? Will anything make sense to me? And I was just very insecure or anxious maybe about how am I going to read all of this? And then eventually someone told me, your brain or your mind will also grow once you from 5 class to 6 class, you'll grow. When you come to 12th class, your mind will also grow. Your brain will also grow. So I was like, okay, chalo, let's figure that out. So now I'm 21, all right. And I would be, exposed to whatever corporate or jobs, whatever the life throws at me. You're certainly a bit older and more experienced than people watching this show mostly, and me.
Almost an entire adult older than you.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't want to put out your age because
I'm quite proud of that. I have a fringe at 37. I'm cool, yo.
There you go, guys. That's how you be cool with your age. That's how you feel secure with your age.
Yeah.
So like from my perspective, still I feel that the all these responsibilities of being an adult or running a company, and you're an entrepreneurial mom, and we'll come to that later. I want to discuss that. I'm very excited to talk to you about that. But how does that like, does it change? Does your mental space, do you grow as a person? Does your mind expand, or do you become more thick skinned to the world, or what does happen?
I think, like I actually got asked this in another interview the other day, saying that, do you think your corporate life helped or hindered entrepreneurship? And I would always say, and that's why, if you're joining a job, I think that's the best decision at this point in time. Because I feel like a lot of the growing and the brain expansion comes from experience, right? And you experience what a good organization or a large organization is supposed to do. You see how teams work together. You see how bosses are. You need one or two, maybe more if you're lucky, but at least one or two good bosses for you to learn how to be a good boss and for you to be able to manage an organization. Unless you're like, oh, I'm going to get into this, it's going to be like a one-man show entrepreneurship. I'll run it for maybe a year or two, and then I'm going to be out. But usually I feel like you're definitely going to know how to deal with a lot more when you get to my age, let me put it like that, right? But if you do start entrepreneurship earlier, and you already have, right, you have started this business on the side, or out of your own passion, the difficulty levels don't change depending on what age you are, right? It's still really, really hard. And I think sometimes the harder decisions are easier for you to make when you're younger, because you're not thinking about 60 million things. Right?
Yeah.
You have your salary, your phone bills, car bill, maybe going out on the weekends, but you don't have the responsibility of family and your parents getting older and kids and stuff. So I think it's the decisions remain the same, but the way you approach them definitely changes over time. I don't know if you get more thick-skinned. I think you learn to, like in my case as a woman, I've always been told that you show too much emotion. Right. And part of this is the bubbly side of me. But like when I get frustrated, it's equally visible that I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
And in a corporate setup, sometimes that's off-putting. And not because it's woman versus man. It's just, if there was another woman screaming at me, I'd be like, dude, calm down, because let's talk about it. Right. I think those kind of things you learn as you go through life and different interactions. But being in a job, I think, has taught me how to be a good entrepreneur for my personal self.
Do you get anxious?
Oh, all the time. Do I ever not get anxious? Like we had a product launch today. I should be delighted, but I'm so anxious. Like, why is it not selling? Why is the number not gone up yet? So,
what does anxiety mean to you? When I say, do you get anxious? What do you think? Like, why do you say that you get anxious? Or today you're not excited, or are you excited, or are you anxious?
I think anxiety and excitement have become one in my brain. It's just like noise. I spend more time thinking about what if, and less time actually enjoying what's happening. Right. So, I mean, we're growing as a company. We have a new day every day. It's a new team member, or it's a new office space, or it's, a rack falling down. Like, there's good things and bad things. But instead of approaching it with damn, today was so exciting because this new thing happened, sometimes it's like, oh my God, this happened. Now what do I do? So I think they should be different emotions, but sometimes there's just so much going on that I feel like I don't stop thinking. And in my head, I call it anxiety. Maybe it's a mix of both.
You come across as a person who's just so full of life, and you sometimes I kind of think this, that people who are very expressive, they also have, I don't know, it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but they have very deep abilities to think. They have the abilities to get into a zone and think deeply about things. That's just my view, because I think that then only if you're able to express a wide range of emotions, that means you have it, right? So someone who's just almost always the same, that means their capability or abilities to express emotion or maybe feel it are a bit limited to the person who's not. So that brings me to this, that how much of Surabhi Talwar is being processed into happy jars, in a sense that what ideology are you bringing into your venture? What philosophies do you want your brand to embody? So for what exactly goes into what's the philosophy behind it? What do you want people to remember your happy jars by?
So that's a really interesting way to put it. And I've never thought about it like that, but I take it as a compliment and say thank you. Because I think it's interesting when you put it like that, because I think I do actually reflect a lot. And I think part of that is why also I don't stop thinking, because even in the quiet moments, I find something that's been nagging at the back of my head, and then I tend to go over it a lot. But I think also you have to make that time. And going back to your previous point about how your experience works out, right? Like as you start on your journey of working and you start to work longer, some tasks will become more repetitive. You won't have to think while you're doing them, but it does help to, when you come across a big challenge, to actually physically pause. And in my case, I try and remove myself from that situation. So let's say if there's stuff happening at work, I'll try and do a work from home day and sit and focus on one task, because I think deep work, especially when you are at a senior level or you're making senior level decisions, is very, very important. Because especially in an entrepreneurship, when you say go, everything moves. Yeah, if you've got a good team, you give the charge and people will go and do what you tell them to do. So if you give the wrong charge and you haven't thought it through, that's when mistakes can happen. I think part of the expression of the emotion is also the fact that it's just nice to understand what you mean, right? Otherwise, it's very deadpan and boring. So, like, there's a lot of happy emotion also. Sometimes there's a lot of frustrated emotion as well. But I think that's the kind of culture that we've tried to build at Happy Jars. Everything is very transparent. So we actually have three values we talk of, okay? And one is hard work, the other is honesty, and the third one is happiness. And all three of them are equally important to us. So hard work, of course, everyone says that, but what we mean by that is in a small company like ours, we don't have very well-defined roles yet. So sometimes I'll be helping with labeling, or the people in packing will be helping to bring stuff into the factory, or everyone will be working together to fix something in finance that needs doing. So some of that is what we mean by hard work, a little bit of fluidity. And then the second value, which is of honesty, is absolutely paramount, because what you're feeling, if you don't discuss it, no one's going to be able to help you get over that. And if you have a problem and you made a mistake and you cover it up, you can't solve for it as a team. And then the third one, happiness, of course, because I feel like, and like I said before as well, if you don't go home happy or you don't have a good day at work, you just don't feel like coming back the next day, right? And that's a horrible position to be in, especially when you're trying to retain talent and make people feel like it's their company. So
yeah, I mean, that's a good answer. You've listed out values that sometimes feel intuitive, but it's hard to maintain them or remember them during this whole journey of your life or whatever brand or a company that you're trying to embody them into. Very simple things are often very hard to follow, I guess. We were talking about following these philosophies and practices in daily life, and how you have to constantly remember them and remind them to yourself and your team. So who does that for your team? Are you the people's person for in Happy Jars, or is that something that your
yes.
co-founder does?
No, that's me. I'm the agony aunt and the grandma and the mama. Obviously, I'm the oldest also, I think, on the team, so that's just me naturally.
How's your mom side of life dealing with being an entrepreneur and this hustle culture? And it's a very beautiful mix. I mean, I respect you so much for doing this while being a mom of a very young superb kid. So how's that
Thank
been like?
you.
Tell me all about it.
It was really hard. Yeah, I think a lot of it, so when you're, I mean, I've been married for ages now. So it's not like we were newly married and we suddenly had a baby. It was like we decided to have a business and we started this business, and then my husband was doing that on his own and I was still in a job. And then I decided I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to become a full-time Happy Jars entrepreneur. And the month I spoke to my boss about quitting, and then I realized I was pregnant. So I was
Oh,
like, oh, wow, okay, everything happens at the same time. Yeah. So I was like, we're not going to have any salary, and we'll have another like thing to look after. It was really difficult, I think, in the beginning. We were quite thrown by just a lot of the things that happened. And then when my daughter was 3 months old, we actually had lockdown, and we
oh,
went into the first wave of the pandemic. So I think in a way it was a blessing because um, we had a much smaller business back then, and we were able to manage kind of. We moved into my parents' house. Like a lot of things on the personal front have had to happen in order for me to be able to continue to work at Happy Jars. It's been tough.
hmm,
And I can't say that it gets any easier with time, but the team has been really supportive. And I think, the first 2 weeks, I was completely off work. I didn't look at my email, nothing. But then after that, I was kind of back doing a little bit of work from home. And just, I don't think anything prepares you for having a kid, but nothing prepares you for how much time it's going to take to actually get back to work after you've had a kid. Because I was thinking, like, do 3 months and I'm done. I'm going to leave her with my
yeah.
parents and be able to work again. It's not like that. Like 3 years on, and I'm still trying to find the time. And I'm like, when do you drop her to school and then go back and work? Roller coaster.
How would Surabhi pre all this experience view you right now? So 3 years ago, if you would have talked to Surabhi, you would be managing a full-fledged business and having a kid, and going through a lockdown and whatever and whatnot you've achieved. So how would that conversation be like? Would she be freaked out, or would she be
You
excited?
ask such deep questions you're asking me. Dude, the most serious podcast, really. Um, it's a very tricky question. I think she would freak out. I mean, the
Okay.
younger me, the 3 years ago
Okay.
me. Because 3 years ago, I used to feel like I don't have time. I'm just always working, and I come home late, and then there's dinner, and then I only get to Netflix for like 3 hours at
Yeah.
night, and then I don't get enough sleep. And I've done all that and fit a baby into all of it. So I think, yeah, time kind of stretches
Mm,
over whatever you need it to, right? So a few things, obviously sleep is compromised. I don't sleep half as much as I used to.
mm.
But I still get to Netflix. I still get to eat good stuff, spend time at home. I don't think I ever imagined, actually, to be honest, that you could fit
Okay.
so much into a day.
No, but your vibe is exactly different. Yeah, I thought that you would be excited by this process because you have so much energy flowing in. I thought that Surabhi was like work baby. She's all energetic, all enthusiastic, and at home also she would be doing cooking on the side. Yeah, where she's gardening also. She's reading a book. She's doing this. She's doing that.
I am the laziest person in my house. The laziest. Like the minute my daughter started understanding instruction, I was like, Ira, ye le aao, Ira, wo le aao. Like, I don't work anymore. I was like, I
I
have
relate to
basically
that.
bred myself a
Yeah.
slave. Yeah, that's what they are. They're slaves when they're younger. And then
Teach
they
them
start
young.
rebelling.
Yeah.
Henna, teach
Uh,
them right young. Yeah. So no, but I feel like I'm really lazy at home. Yeah. And to Vikram's credit, like this whole food side was all Vikram, right? He loves cooking. He doesn't love cooking. He loves experimenting with food, I would say. And he's
yeah.
very, very passionate about that. So if you give him a weekend off, he's like making bread and making pasta and coming up with Japanese food. And I'm like, why? Like, just sit on the sofa and not move for 2 days. That's my idea of a weekend.
Yeah.
So he looks after a lot of the stuff around home and food, and he's made it really, really easy the last 3 years, because there's no way I would have managed this if I didn't have the kind of support he's been. So and very much a team at work and a team at home. So that's been amazing, I think.
So all this experience of being an entrepreneurial mom and having done corporate as well, what's some life advice do you think that you've learned in general? Like whatever experiences that you've had, people have their quotes that they think that I live my life by this quote, or my life is summed up through this quote. What's that one thing, or what's that one quote or philosophy that Surabhi Talwar has come to realize कि life में, this is something that if you stand by this, or you try to establish your whole life around it, then it makes a lot of sense to you.
Uh, it's actually, it's not a quote. Well, actually, no, it is. I read this when maybe it's TMI, but I'll tell you anyway. So before delivery, right, there's this whole major fear about what's going to happen in that labor room. And there's this website called Motherly. It's actually a group on Facebook. And they have this quote, which was, "You got this." And I just thought it was really powerful. And I kind of keep going back to that because whenever things are getting harder, I just think to myself, whatever happens at the end of it, you are the one that has to make the choice, right? And take the call. So you got this. It's okay. You've learned enough. You've done enough. Your experience is going to make whatever judgment you take today happen. And then you're going to deal with the consequences of that because you know how to deal. So it's okay. And live, love, laugh, because I just really like that line. And I laugh a lot. I like to laugh a lot. I cry a lot also, but I laugh a lot also.
Yeah, I'll send you a song. It's one of my favorites, and it's something because of the philosophy that we share. I think it's so similar. So the title of the song is "You Got It in You," and it's called it's by a band called Banners, I think. And I'll send that over to you, and you listen to it, and I think
wow.
you'll like that song, because I also sometimes, whenever there are moments when you feel anxious or you feel like there's too much of stuff that's happening and you're not able to get the grasp of everything. And people like I think us try to be in control of too much, not maybe for the good or not, I don't know, but that sometimes takes a heavy toll on just being you. Sometimes people are just effortlessly them, and sometimes there's just so much traffic up there, and you're thinking so much that it gets lost the basic simple things of life.
So true. And I feel, honestly, I feel a little worried or bad about your generation. And I, like we were discussing, I think the other day, right? I don't think there's one generation difference between you and me. I think it's probably two generations of difference.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is so much pressure on you guys. And I feel like there's so much pressure on us, considering, our parents had to get a really good job. Like I did what my parents would have done at my age in their generation. But my life is completely different because the context has completely changed, right? So I went and got myself a good job. I didn't do my MBA. I think that was a difference compared to what my mom did. But I did a lot of the same kind of things. But life is so much harder today. Like we don't support our parents yet, and we're almost 40. We don't have the big car and the driver and the house with the 16 servants. Like it doesn't work that way in our generation, and it's going to be so much harder for you guys. And even if you look at just entrepreneurship, I remember when I was 21, I think my only expectation of myself was utke office pahunch jana bus. It's like if I landed up in office at the right time.
Yeah.
But now you have like, should I have a job? Should I be an entrepreneur? If I'm an entrepreneur, what idea do I want? Do I have to scale like a Zepto? I mean, he's 19 now. Maybe So I mean, if I did the most basic things expected of me as a 21-year-old kid, because we were kids, so are you. But it's like right now you're expected to be business people. You're not business people, man. You just finished college. Relax a little. You have your whole life to make your millions and billions. Plus, you all will live till like you're 120. So, you don't have to worry about.
If we keep eating peanut butter from Happy Jars, I think.
Yes. Good. I didn't say it. You did. Healthy food.
Healthy food. Are you a healthy food eater?
Yeah.
Do you eat healthy?
I try to. I think I have you see it around you so much. Actually, I hate this conversation about like, don't eat sugar or like, don't eat pizza. I love pizza. I love paratha. I'm such a Punjabi. My daughter eats chocolate and sugar and whatever, because I think our focus is more on being able to help her to portion control and eat for her body. So we're trying to give her the discipline of being able to eat rather than avoiding and chopping off certain foods that she should or shouldn't have. I try to eat healthier, but I have my I have my days when I just want, but like when I want something, I will eat it. And I will call Nirula's at 10:30 at night and I will order my hot chocolate fudge. But yeah, because I feel miserable if I deny myself good food.
I was yesterday only. I was reading this thing on Twitter that someone had said, I don't know who. So there on Twitter, there's this thing. I recently started using Twitter. I had an account for a very long time, but so people are posting threads on how to live your life correctly, and how exercise helps you, and how eating food is good, and how getting sunlight in the morning is great for your eyesight, and whatnot. So I was reading this thread, and a guy had very meticulously pointed out the things that you should do after waking up and everything. So one guy commented, or whatever, replied to him that so now basically what everyone is trying to tell us is just sit at a spot, meditate, drink water, and be a plant. Don't be a human. Keep sitting there and turn into a plant, because you're not allowed to do anything now. Everything that you do will have consequences. It will affect your sleep cycle, and it'll raise your these levels. And and I laughed my heart out at that comment, man. Sometimes we're just trying to
become like that,
overcook. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if you look at food as a conversation, and I do a lot of reading around this, obviously, because it's my job, but I actually, very interestingly, there's a new tech that's come up where you have to wear like an arm patch for monitoring your blood glucose, right? And I was like, cool, I'm in food, let me try it on, let me see what happens. But it was so funny because like I had a birthday party for one of my daughter's friends to go to, and I went for the birthday party and everyone thought I was dying. Like they looked at that device and they're like, "Ye kya ho gaya? Oh my God, what happened to you? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm just monitoring my blood sugar." "Oh my God, you have diabetes." I was like, "No." And I realized that we go so far, like it's way out. Like imagine someone had told me like even 10 years ago, being like, you're going to stick a needle in your arm and keep it there for 2 weeks to measure, I don't know, whatever you eat. But we do. I think we tend to take it really far. Like, I can't wake up and meditate in the morning. Nahi hota. I can't sit still. Like, I have to get up.
I relate to that. Yeah, I relate to that. And now I don't know. I didn't knew this earlier, but so apparently there's a thing called and it's very famous, and it's a mental illness, I think, but I don't know the seriousness of it when it spreads across, when you try to label people or children as ADHD, people who have ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So some might have it, and all due respect and everything to them, but how now I can't for the life of me be able to figure out that am I also suffering from ADHD, or how do I exactly figure out, because I also can't sit at a place and think about only one thing for an hour and concentrate all my efforts on a single thing. Sometimes I also feel like doing 500 things at a time, and sometimes just exhausting. Today only I was thinking about this, that if I'm being pulled into 3-4 directions at a time, if I have 3-4 projects going on, and something that requires this and that, then I sometimes feel that I'm at peace. And it's crazy. I mean, it's hard to navigate your mental, physical state in this world that we live in. It's kind of become weird.
Yeah. But I feel like that's exactly why mental health is so important to talk about, right? Because even when you look at just look at how things in your context have a bearing on you. Like, look at YouTube Shorts or look at Insta Reels. Like the whole point of that is that you've got literally 30 or 60 or 15 seconds, but they will not allow you to watch something for more than that, and you have to skip and go to the next thing, right? So basically, you're encouraging someone to develop shorter time spans, and technology is actually encouraging you to have shorter time spans. So ADHD of course needs diagnosis, and if that's a very serious issue if it's been detected and diagnosed. But I feel like all of us suffer from not being able to just sit. There are people who have like if your phone is not near you, you hear it ringing in your head. It's not ringing, right? But it's like it's very scary when you think of. And if you see, dude, it's so freaky, because I have my 3-year-old. You can give her any phone and she can figure out how to go back, how to reach your photos, how to find YouTube, as she calls it. It's like she doesn't know how to hold a pen, okay? but she can YouTube and Netflix, and she knows how to find it. So I just find like there's so many things we're doing them to ourselves, but it'll come in a full circle. I think eventually you will have people, when our generation, let's say, turns 60 and 70, we will want to simmer down. And I'm sure that your generation will start to see the impacts of that. Like our parents are struggling to keep up with how fast tech is changing, but because
Yeah.
we actually know how to work tech, maybe our generation will actually help to slow it down again.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I also think about this. I mean, this calls for another huge discussion that, as you said, your daughter probably doesn't hold a pen or want to write anything, and she knows how to navigate through different apps on a phone.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that would they ever need to hold a pen 10, 15 years later, or would we devise,
Yeah.
a world where all the traditional things go obsolete? I mean, it's just not predictable.
Yeah. I mean, you've never held a floppy disk, I bet.
Sorry.
Right? And you would never have held a floppy disk, probably, because you would have been too small.
Yeah, like I've seen
floppy
one.
disks went away.
No, I've seen one. I think back in my childhood, I remember one. I remember this incident distinctly. So yeah, I've seen one, but yeah, I haven't used it or don't know even like how do people carry those, or
What it
use them.
was.
Yeah, what it was.
Like the dial-up VSNL connection for me was like a real thing. I used to dial up and get onto the internet. So yeah, it's a very, I mean, yeah, for all you know, she may not need to have it. I'm still trying to teach her like cursive A and being like, with a handwriting competition, you must win and come home. But yeah, for all you know, they won't need it.
Yeah.
It's a scary world, man, how fast it moves.
What's your plan? Do you think about like have you made check marks for happy jars? Like in 5 years time we want to be here, in 2 years time we want to do this, 10 years, yeah. So do you have a long vision, or are you taking it, let's see how this goes, then we move on to the next step?
We have a vision. We have about what we've set out to have a 5-year plan of. I think also our plans change every 6 months. So every 6 months we have a new 5-year plan.
That's good. Yeah.
Because obviously you have many people to answer to. But I think, sometimes I feel like we need to get more aggressive. But other times I'm very conscious that we're not building this just for the optics. I think a lot of businesses are built for optics. You have very, very high growth rates, and people are growing 20x every year. But no one's looking at what the base of that actually is. Whereas maybe because we've already experienced working in other companies, we're very conscious of bottom line, we're conscious of profits, we're conscious of hiring right, not having huge teams, not pumping too much money into things like fancy offices and stuff like that. But we have a vision to how much we want to grow in terms of course, top line and categories and things like that. But I think more importantly, we have a vision for how we want people to feel at work and the kind of brand we want to build. So we're very, very brand conscious. Both me and Vikram are marketing students, and we've studied it and worked in marketing departments. So for us, consumer and branding is, I think, the center of what we do at Happy Jars. So from the beginning, we've been very conscious of what the consumer's reaction to the brand is. So whenever we take a new step, we always make sure that is not going against the ethos of what we're trying to build. We will not, unlike a lot of businesses, we will not do anything for the sake of growth, because we don't feel that's not the right way to do it. And over the long haul, that's no fun, man.
It's also not. It's almost like filling up it's like an empty vessel at the end of the day anyway. Filling up things with air doesn't make them full. It's kind of that. I mean, exactly. Anything substantial, anything that has some value to it, that will survive this whole chaotic short-term goals or meets or plans, is it does require that time and effort, and for it to fully length out its lifetime. You can't You can't grow up a child in 2 years. That they grow at their age only. You can't expect
Exactly.
everyone to be a 2-year-old Abacus genius. That's just not how it works, and shouldn't be how it works. And see, you're hearing it from a 80-year-old guy who's built many businesses, so you should trust it.
No, I absolutely. And see, that's what I mean. Like, you guys have so much knowledge at this age. At this age, someone asked me to spell entrepreneurship. I don't think I could have. But it's like, there's, actually, I want to actually mention this, because I know that a lot of your audience is going to be people who are in their 20s who are looking to start out, right? And who are looking to get into businesses. In fact, my own niece has a jewelry business, and I talk to her quite often about how she's planning things. I feel like there's this world of entrepreneurship where a lot of people who've been working, let's say now for 6, 7, 8 years, building brands like Bombay Shaving Company, Mom's Co, all the other larger food brands as well, they have systems of support around them. The language they talk is of a different scale and level of business, because they've built that business over 7, 8 years. They've been through the hustle and they've been through the grind. And I think when you start out, just remember that your startups are not going to be compared in the same generation as the startups who are there now, right? Because when you guys are 5, 6, 7 years into business, your clique of startups will be very different. So don't judge yourself by the same metrics as what people are judging today. In fact, even the next 2 years, depending on what happens with the US recession, what happens with oil, etc., parameters of judgment on success of a startup might change completely. It might not be about growth. It might actually become about, if you're not profitable from day one, no one will want to invest in you, right? So I feel like if you're getting into entrepreneurship, don't worry so much about what people want to see. Worry more about actually being able to run it as a business and earn from it and survive on it. And in fact, a lot of people say that, if you're in it for the money, you're wrong. But I think the exact opposite. If I didn't earn from this job, I wouldn't do it. It's simple, right? I'm not earning as much as I would if I was in a corporate job, obviously, because I have the equity and there's a lot of things that play out against each other. But the business has to grow enough to make money and for you to take money home to pay for bills and pay for stuff and have a life. Yeah, because you don't want to struggle through your 20s, reach your 40s and realize you're too old.
Yeah.
And that you've just been judging it all wrong. So, I mean, do it, because you can also do it now, fail and not care. You can be like, oh, I'm just 26 and, I've had a failed startup, so what? And that's a really good place to be, actually. But don't judge yourself with, the guy at Zepto was 19. Like, no, it's not relevant. And a lot of that comparison, I have to tell myself that actually still, because I get very competitive and I look at people who've been in business for 5 years, like Mama Earth, I think has been in business for like 7 years. I don't know how many hundreds of crores of valuation, and I'm 5 years in and we're titch. But I feel like you have to run your own race. So don't judge on others' metrics.
That's very profound, Surabhi. I think that's probably very wise, and it makes sense. It makes sense, and it's something that you constantly have to remind yourself also. Sometimes when we when these conversations happens, and everyone listening, or when you're even talking, all of it makes sense. But the need that you mentioned, at the beginning of this episode, that sometimes these simple things just need simple reminders. And if you're able to remind yourself of these, then only you're able to tread on that path very peacefully, calmly, and running your own race. I think that's awesome advice to bring us to the end of this episode. I love talking to you. I hope I get to meet you. You're in Delhi. I think I can meet you and Happy Jars any day. And I'm really excited for you guys.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me and giving me this opportunity. And I'm so glad it was so casual and candid. It was really fun.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Surabhi, for being on the show. I love talking to you, and, Happy Jars to the moon.
Fingers crossed. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.